okay. I really want to get it there and go there and get it over with.
All right, real good.
I kind of know what it's about, and it's something that's really small.
That wasn't just breezy thinking. That was reckless. He thought it was a small charge, but in reality, the weight was crushing. A massive RICO case just dropped on his head, and the sentence is so heavy, it could keep him locked away for life. And the craziest part, word is, 600 Breezy isn't going down alone. Insiders claim he's already whispering names to shave off his own time. The downfall all started on the morning of August 27, 2025. The day Antonio Valentino King, better known as 600 Breezy, had his world flipped upside down. The Chicago drill rapper was rolling through Wisconsin when what should have been a routine traffic stop spiraled into chaos. At 7:30 a.m., cops ran his name and uncovered something shocking: an active extradition warrant out of Pennsylvania. Within minutes, Breezy went from the driver's seat to the back of a squad car, staring down charges that could bury his career forever.
You know, I don't know. I don't know what the elements are of the various offenses in Pennsylvania. If you're unsure of that and want to look into that a little bit further before you make decisions here, I'd be happy to continue this for a day or two, or...
That's okay. I really want to get it there and go there and get it over with.
All right, real good.
I kind of know what it's about, and it's something that's really small.
This wasn't Breezy's first dance with the law, not even close. Born and raised in Chicago's gritty Inglewood neighborhood, he'd been straddling the line between street life and rap fame for over a decade. His ties to the Black Disciples, especially the feared 600 set, weren't just rap lyrics, they were his reality. That connection brought him fame, but it also chained him to endless beefs, court cases, and the bloody gang wars of Chicago. When word of his arrest spread, shockwaves ripped through hip-hop. Fans and fellow rappers flooded timelines with disbelief, but deep down, those who knew his history weren't surprised.
Oh, that's...
I know that.
Yeah, you don't want to get into the facts of it, because somehow it could potentially get used against you later on.
Breezy had been skating on thin ice for years, and this time, it cracked wide open. Court papers made it clear: no bail, no mercy, and no escape. Whatever Pennsylvania has waiting for him, it's big enough to keep him locked in a cell with no chance of slipping through the cracks. What made this arrest even more chilling wasn't just the handcuffs, it was the speculation exploding online. Reddit threads and street forums lit up with claims that Breezy's name was tangled in a state-level RICO case. And anyone who knows the law understands how dangerous that is. RICO, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, is the government's sharpest blade, designed to slice straight through organized crime. When they pull out RICO on rappers, it's because they think they can prove the artist is part of a whole criminal machine.
You go and die. You gon' die. And that's all I'm saying. I'm gonna go to jail respectfully. I'm gonna go to jail respectfully when I see you, respectfully. I'm not me.
Breezy's first court appearance only added fuel to the drama. He walked in looking like a man already beaten, almost resigned to whatever came next. But then he downplayed the charges, calling them small, like it was nothing. That attitude clashed hard with the reality, because nothing about extradition warrants and no bail screams small. This wasn't some minor traffic case. This was a storm waiting to crash down on him. The judge's warning told the real story. He cautioned Breezy not to say too much, because anything could be twisted and used against him later.
And you gotta move around with security because you gotta move around with security because you a hoe. You gotta move around with security. Real streets don't move with security guards. You gonna die.
That alone showed how serious the situation was, even if Breezy wanted to act casual. Behind the bars, this wasn't just another day in court. This was a turning point that could lock his future away for good. And truth is, this wasn't a random arrest out of nowhere. It was years in the making. Breezy's rap sheet stretches all the way back to 2012, when he got caught up in Waterloo, Iowa, during a drug bust involving crack cocaine with intent to deliver. That first case set off a domino effect of probation violations, lockups, and endless courtrooms. By 2017, things got worse.
600 Breezy has been hit with a state RICO charge, man. He started to explain it on camera to the judge, but the judge said halt, and he waived his extradition, so he will be going to Pennsylvania to fight this RICO charge.
He was slapped with a 10-year sentence for breaking probation, sneaking off to perform in Houston and LA without permission, and testing positive for weed. Even though legal maneuvers cut his 10-year stretch down to just 18 months, the damage was already done. The message was clear.
There's something small, there's something minor. Hey, ain't nothing small or minor about no Rico, man. See,
600 Breezy couldn't stay out of trouble if his life depended on it. And it wasn't just the court stacking cases against him. His rap beefs left a messy trail too. The loudest and most dangerous of them all, his never-ending feud with Tekashi 6ix9ine, a beef that spiraled from petty disrespect into something deadly serious.
So to go down to another state and cause havoc, or however he called this Rico, is insane, man. Hey, I damn near spit out my coffee, man, when the judge said, I was drinking some Dunkin' Donuts, man, and the judge said, a state Rico, I damn near spit out my coffee, man.
When 6ix9ine disrespected fallen Chicago rappers, Breezy wasn't having it. He didn't sugarcoat, he didn't hold back. He went public with threats that made it clear this wasn't internet trolling anymore. These weren't the usual back-and-forth bars between rivals. This was a firestorm aimed directly at a man the whole world knows is a federal informant. Law enforcement doesn't just watch that kind of talk. They file it, they build cases with it, and they wait. Sure enough, the feud came back to haunt him. In December 2021, Breezy was arrested for making terroristic threats, a brutal reminder that the internet never forgets. Those clips and posts weren't just entertainment for fans, they were evidence, locked and loaded for prosecutors to paint him as part of a violent criminal network. Every word, every threat became a brick in the wall the feds are now closing in on him with. And here's the irony that left fans stunned. Just months before his August 2025 arrest, Breezy was being praised for calling out senseless violence. He had condemned the mass shooting at Chicago rapper Mellow B's mixtape release, where 4 people were killed and 15 were injured. He positioned himself as a voice of reason, saying the cycle of bloodshed had to stop. This arrest didn't just rattle 600 Breezy's world, it shook the entire Chicago drill scene. Old rivalries immediately reignited, and the first shot came from none other than Lil Zay Osama. He couldn't resist clowning Breezy on social media, posting, "Be Breezo, the streets ain't for you." That one line turned into a viral moment, pouring gasoline on a fire that was already burning hot. The media jumped on the story instantly, framing it as a defining moment for drill culture. What grabbed everyone's attention wasn't just the charges themselves, but Breezy's attitude, the way he brushed them off like it was nothing. Fans, critics, even legal experts pointed out the obvious contradiction. How can you act casual when you're staring down the barrel of RICO charges? And let's be real, RICO is no small-time play. These charges don't get filed unless prosecutors think they can prove a long-running pattern of organized crime, often with multiple players involved. When the government comes with RICO, they're not guessing. They're saying, "We've got you connected to a whole enterprise." That's why Breezy's downplaying it looked wild, like he didn't understand the gravity of what was about to hit him. For Breezy, this wasn't just another setback. This was possibly the breaking point. With a rap sheet already stacked with arrests across Iowa, Chicago, and beyond, prosecutors had plenty of material to weave a narrative of a man tied to the streets by choice, not by accident. To them, this looked less like coincidence and more like consistency, the type of pattern they love to use to bury defendants under mountains of charges. What made things even scarier was the mystery hanging over it all. That Pennsylvania warrant, completely sealed. No one knew what was written inside, not even Breezy's legal team. Until the charges were unsealed in court, his lawyers were walking blind, with no way to prepare for the punches coming their way. Looking closer at 600 Breezy's story, you realize this arrest wasn't random at all. It was the crash landing everyone saw coming. His whole life balanced on a razor's edge between fame and infamy, between dropping hits and dodging indictments. Drill rap didn't just give him a career, it locked him into a deadly game where every bar, every beef, every move could double as courtroom evidence. That's the danger of this culture. It blurs entertainment with survival and survival with crime. To really understand how Breezy ended up facing life-changing charges out of Pennsylvania, you gotta go back to where it all started. This wasn't just music for him. It was life or death in Chicago's most ruthless streets. In drill, credibility comes at a price, and too often that price is freedom. When prosecutors build cases, they don't just look at police reports, they comb through lyrics, interviews, Instagram lives. For Breezy, his art and his reality collided until they became impossible to separate. Born April 16, 1991, Antonio Valentino King grew up in the hardest corners of Chicago, where making it past 21 was considered a miracle. He was raised in Inglewood, in neighborhoods where gunfire was the soundtrack and survival was the only priority. Every step outside was a gamble. You could be a target just for who you stood next to. And in that chaos, one thing held him together: the Black Disciples, specifically the feared 600 set. This wasn't some crew he repped for clout. This was blood, loyalty, and identity all in one. On the 600 block, loyalty meant everything. Betrayal could mean death, and snitching wasn't an option, ever. These weren't just homies. These were soldiers Breezy would ride or die with. Brothers ready to stand tall when the ops pulled up, no questions asked. But like so many stories from Chicago's drill scene, tragedy cut deep into his come-up. His close friend and fellow Black Disciples member, L.A. Capone, was gunned down in 2013 at just 17 years old. Losing L.A. wasn't just losing a friend. It was like losing blood, and that pain lit a fire inside Breezy that would push him to chase rap with a whole new hunger. From that point, every verse became a tribute, every track a torch carried for his fallen soldier. When Breezy dropped Don't Get Smoked in 2015, it wasn't just music, it was a war cry from the trenches. That raw, uncut energy bled through every bar, and the streets recognized it instantly. This wasn't some studio gangster trying to fake tough. This was the real thing, straight from Chicago's belly, where survival is earned, not staged. And then, fate threw him a wild card. Out of nowhere, Drake, the Six God himself, played Don't Get Smoked on OVO Sound Radio in September 2015. Picture it. A young cat from the 600 block grinding in the shadows, suddenly blasted to millions by the biggest rapper in the world. That wasn't just a cosign, that was a crown placed on Breezy's head. Overnight, he went from underground energy to an artist the industry had to acknowledge. What followed wasn't some shallow camera-ready link-up either. Drake and Breezy formed something real. Real recognized real, as they say. And Breezy always made it clear that Drake showed him genuine respect behind closed doors. Drake didn't just toss him a shout-out for clout, he backed it up, moving for Breezy when it mattered, showing love in ways fans never even saw. But here's the thing. Breezy also learned a hard truth that many young artists from the block never understand when stepping into the industry. Breezy knew one thing for sure. He couldn't just be another clout chaser trying to ride somebody else's wave. The respect between him and Drake was solid because Breezy kept it raw and authentic. He understood that Chicago drill culture was different. Something real, something you couldn't fake no matter how hard you tried. That's why his connection to the Six God felt bigger than music. It was genuine street-to-street recognition. Drake's outreach hit different because it was unsolicited. Breezy always reminded people he never begged for attention or asked for a feature, and that earned him major respect from the Toronto legend. This wasn't about using Drake to get put on. Breezy wasn't chasing cosigns. He was building his own lane. And the fact that Drake still rocked with him, that made the bond undeniable. But even as the friendship grew, Breezy never forgot the truth. The streets don't stop watching, and they never stop calling. And that's where things got messy. Breezy's loyalty to his block and his understanding of street politics clashed with Drake's more polished, diplomatic way of handling rap beef. Breezy couldn't just smile it off when disrespect came his way. That wasn't in his DNA. For him, loyalty came before industry politics, even if it meant stepping into fire. The peak of their connection came in 2017, when Breezy's spoken word drop closed out Drake's track, Lose You, on the More Life project. That wasn't just a feature. That was a blessing from the rap gods themselves, putting Breezy's voice in living rooms, car stereos, and headphones across the world. For a kid from the 600 block, it was a moment of validation most rappers only dream about. But here's the twist that makes this story wild. While Breezy's name was spreading worldwide thanks to Drake, the system was moving in silence, stacking files, and building a case strong enough to tear everything down. The truth is, the game is rigged from the start when you come from where 600 Breezy came from. Success doesn't shield you. It just paints a bigger target on your back. Roll it back to 2012 when Breezy was only 21 and still figuring things out. That's when the Tri-County Drug Enforcement Task Force teamed up with the Waterloo Police Department's tactical unit and hit 6 different homes in Iowa with search warrants. One of those raids went down at 1013 West Mullen Avenue in Waterloo. And that's where Antonio Valentino King, the world's future 600 Breezy, was arrested. He wasn't just hit with a small possession case. Cops charged him with possession with intent to deliver crack cocaine. And that's a whole different beast. Getting caught with a little work is one thing, but when they think you're moving weight, that's the type of charge that can bury you for a decade or more. But somehow, Breezy caught a break most never see. He pleaded guilty, sure, but instead of serving the full 10-year sentence, the judge suspended it and handed him 5 years probation. His probation got transferred to Illinois, where he was living at the time, which meant Breezy could actually build his career while staying out of the pen. It looked like divine intervention, a shot at redemption, a chance to flip his life and chase rap without bars holding him back. But here's the catch. Anybody who's been through the system knows probation isn't freedom, it's a leash. And when you're a young rapper trying to climb out the hood, that leash can feel shorter and tighter with every step you take. By early 2017, with only 3 months left before his 5-year probation was up, Iowa corrections officials came calling again. They claimed Breezy violated his terms, and the reasons: performing at venues in Houston and Los Angeles without permission to leave Illinois. The violations weren't just small slips, they painted Breezy into a corner. Court records showed him performing at the IVA Center in Houston, Texas in October 2016, and then at Lure in Los Angeles by December that same year. Social media made it worse, allegedly placing him in New York, Oakland, and even East Atlanta. All trips outside Illinois, all without permission. Here's the crazy catch-22 he was stuck in. For once, Breezy was doing everything rappers dream about: getting booked in major cities, building his fan base, and finally securing bags that could change his life. But every single move forward in his career was technically a violation of probation. Imagine grinding your way out the mud only to have the same success that saves you become the rope pulling you back down. And the strikes didn't stop there. Breezy had already tested positive for weed in 2015 and 2016, giving Iowa officials another excuse to call him out. By the time they piled everything together, he was walking into a storm that felt impossible to escape. The frustration boiled over when he had to make that dreaded drive back to Iowa to face the music. In a now-deleted Facebook post, Breezy let the world know exactly how he felt. He wrote, "This long-ass drive to Waterloo, I'm about to walk in court on straight asshole mode. Because if I've been violating for traveling, that means I'm violating coming to court. And the crazy part, my supervising PO in Chicago didn't violate me. Iowa did, after 5 years. Now Iowa want to all of a sudden step in." That post said it all. Here was a young man who had been grinding hard, staying out of extra trouble and feeding his family through music. Yet the system wasn't focused on his progress or his potential. They wanted to make an example out of him. The very steps he took to build a future were flipped into ammo against him. And as Breezy made that long drive to Waterloo, he knew one thing for sure: his freedom and his future were hanging by a single fragile thread. Breezy had no idea his whole world was about to flip upside down. The courtroom he was walking into would turn into the stage for one of the most controversial sentences hip-hop had seen in years. This wasn't just about a legal technicality. It became a showdown that tested not only Breezy's strength, but the loyalty of everyone around him, including his superstar friend from Toronto. It was a brutal lesson in what happens when keeping it real collides with a system stacked against you. June 2nd, 2017 should have been a celebration. The day 600 Breezy finally closed the chapter on his legal mess and stepped fully into his destiny as a rap star. Instead, it turned into a nightmare, proof that there are two versions of justice in America, one for the privileged and another for young black men from the hood who dare to chase something bigger than their block. Breezy walked into that Waterloo, Iowa courtroom thinking this was routine probation business. At worst, he expected a slap on the wrist, maybe stricter rules, maybe a warning. What he didn't expect was Judge Andrea Dreyer waiting with the hammer. She ruled that Breezy had violated his probation, pointing to unauthorized travel for shows in Houston and LA and those marijuana tests. And just like that, she snapped the leash and threw down the full 10-year prison sentence from his original 2012 case. 10 years. 10 years behind bars for performing music out of state and smoking weed. Let that sink in. The hood felt the news like a drive-by. Sudden, shocking, and brutal. People couldn't believe it, but the system didn't blink. The one forced to break the devastating news was Breezy's own mother, Renita King. On Facebook, she wrote with heartbreak, Iowa just locked up Antonio Valentino King for 10 years. This is the worst birthday of my life. His mother's pain was unfiltered, posted online so the world knew her son had just been taken. But Breezy wasn't going out quiet. Even behind bars, his voice still carried that defiant energy that made him a star. A jailhouse call spread through the streets, and you could hear the mix of pain and determination in every word. This wasn't just talk. Breezy knew he had an ace most defendants don't: real loyalty from someone with real power. Drake didn't just stand by him as an industry friend, he showed up as family. A leaked text, allegedly from Drake, said it all. They took him in, revoked his probation, and gave him 10 years. Basically locked him up for smoking weed and being black. That line cut deep, sparking debate everywhere about whether Breezy was being punished harder because of who he was and where he came from. And Drake's support wasn't just words, his team reportedly stepped in to secure top-tier legal help, proving he was ready to put money and influence on the line. In an industry where loyalty disappears fast, this was rare, and it changed the narrative. Breezy always said the system could bend if you had the right resources, and he was right. In February 2018, his lawyer Tina Muhammad filed a motion arguing he was a successful artist contributing to society. Shockingly, it worked. By December 12, 2018, Breezy walked free after serving less than a year of a 10-year sentence. But freedom didn't take the target off his back. As a young black man with a record, the system kept circling. Every song, every interview, every public beef built a paper trail prosecutors could use against him. His own words became evidence, whether in court filings or speculation, linking his name to high-profile cases. That's the danger of RICO. Prosecutors don't need to prove you did everything, only that you were part of a crew tied to crime and gained from it. 600 Breezy's legal mess gets even more complicated when you look at his own words. For years, he's made statements, in songs, interviews, even shout-outs, that prosecutors could flip into proof of criminal activity. To fans, it was street talk. To the system, it's evidence of loyalty to an organized crew. Exactly what fuels a RICO case? Observers gasp when RICO charges get mentioned, but the truth is clear. With Breezy's history, this isn't just serious, it's potentially a life sentence. Prosecutors don't just look at crimes, they look at the structure behind them. Even casual nods to locked up homies can be spun into evidence of an enterprise with rules, hierarchy, and reach. The irony? Breezy's mainstream success might hurt him more than it helps. That confidence he showed, talking like he could beat any case, only feeds a narrative of someone who thinks he's above the law. And his connection to Drake, while powerful for legal help, could backfire too. Prosecutors can twist it into proof that the organization had resources and mainstream influence. What makes this moment career-ending isn't one arrest, it's the pattern. From his 2012 drug bust to the 2017 probation violation, to arrests in Iowa and Alabama, and now Pennsylvania. Prosecutors can stack it all into one storyline. That 600 Breezy wasn't just a rapper caught in the system, but a career criminal who happened to rap. The fact that 600 Breezy was snatched up during what looked like a routine traffic stop shows this wasn't random at all. Law enforcement had been watching. They were waiting for the right moment to spring those warrants. That kind of precision usually means more than local cops. We're talking wiretaps, financial tracking, and multiple agencies working together on something big. What makes it worse? The Pennsylvania charges are sealed. His legal team is walking into court blind with no clue what the government has stacked against him until it's unsealed. And in a RICO case, that's deadly. These prosecutions are built on years of alleged crimes, multiple defendants, and a conspiracy narrative that's almost impossible to untangle once it's in motion. The evidence web prosecutors can weave is massive. Every conflict, every beef, every reckless move Breezy ever made gets tied together. Public videos flashing guns at funerals, social media threats at rival rappers, and even his associations with other accused criminals, all of it feeds the image of him as a soldier in a violent organization. For a man who once bragged he'd be back on the streets in 10 months or less, facing a possible RICO is a cold dose of reality. 600 Breezy built his name on being authentic, but in the eyes of federal prosecutors, being too real can strip you of everything: your freedom, your career, your legacy. The boy from Chicago's South Side, who once turned pain into drill anthems, is now staring down a future that could erase everything he fought for. His arrest feels like the closing of a chapter, the end of an era where drill rappers walked that razor line between fame and felony. The same streets that gave him his identity are now the same ones being used against him. Whether he beats these charges or ends up buried under decades in a cell, one thing is clear. The game that made him famous has changed forever. The streets are watching, the industry is whispering, and 600 Breezy's name will either go down as a survivor or as a cautionary tale. Thanks for rocking with me. If this story had you locked in, drop a comment and let me know what you think about Breezy's future. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. And trust me, the next one is just as wild.